these questions. So I'm going to be on here as long as it takes me to get some of these done. So the first questions are on the nature of reality. The question is, do you think that reality is more like a dream or a solid physical machine? Why? Okay, to me, reality is the mixture of a dream and exactly what we see in the physical reality, right? So you can't put your hand through a wall right now in this physical world. In a dreamscape, you can. Our reality is somewhere in that middle part where the malleability is right in front of us in that forward creation. So by the time it's already in the physical moment, you can't change it. It's already fallen into the physical. But all is mental first. So the understanding of getting through barriers, getting through boundaries, if you plant in the mental plane, your expedition, your plan of moving forward and through, that comes into creation in our reality, but not quite as fast as a dream, but not as slow or impermanent as what we're told. I hope that makes sense at all. If not, I'm sorry. But basically, it is like a dream and it isn't. It has more rules, but not as many as you think. Okay, is everything connected at some deeper level? Yes. Or are we truly separate? No. We are not truly separate at all. Is everything connected? Yes. So think about it like in Star Wars when they talk about the Force and the Force is within everything and is everything. That is sort of what it is, right? So I always say that we are projecting reality from our chest. So we're essentially rendering what we believe reality should be and is, and we are co-rendering with each other. So even though I might have a very unique experience with very unique rules and regulations in my reality that maybe someone right next to me is not experiencing at the same rate, we are still co-creating somewhat together, even though my storyline and my arc is always just mine. So we have a bunch of people running around rendering and co-rendering creation together. And that's why it gets messy, but that is also why we're always in tether with each other. So the more I push forward, there's other people that are going to be affected by that negatively. So every time that you manifest, and let's just say that you believe in yourself, you love yourself, you have a lot fewer barriers than others would have in manifestation, your vote or your creation piece goes farther, goes faster, has more anchoring in reality than maybe somebody who's trying to manifest the same thing, but maybe deeply has struggles around disliking themselves or has struggles around believing themselves. So no matter what, that connection point, it really, from a fundamental perspective, it kind of matters most when you're in competition with those around you to render what you want to render. So it's a little bit, we're in connection and we're in competition. We're also able to help each other. We're also able to really fall below. So for instance, when you get caught up with the wrong crowd and you start to notice that maybe your outcomes start to shift, it's because of the crowd, I promise you. When we join collective consciousness, what you're co-signing on or what you're joining onto is a collective that's sharing somewhat of a fate. Hi, Derek Brycino. So, anyways, what you want to kind of make sure you're doing is, are you part of a collective that you that you respect, that you like, that you believe you're willing to suffer consequences as a group? Because hi, Mango Bros. Okay, so could the universe be more like a giant mind than a giant physical object? I would say that's really pretty accurate. And that's what the Gnostics talk about as well. So the Gnostics talk about how everything is mental first. And that's what the cardinal rules. So when you believe something can't happen, you're promising that it can't in your reality. Your belief and what you structurally find true is always going to make manifest. Things that you don't believe in, like your successes, if you don't believe that you've got the ability to get that job, if you don't believe that you deserve love, if you don't have those like hardline things in your soul, you're not going to get them because you have to render from your own station of belief. There is no cheat around that, unfortunately. Okay, what do you think happens to you when you're in deep sleep or under anesthesia? I believe that I know that. So I'm a working medium psychic. I don't really care if you believe that that can work or not. I definitely am very aware when I dream. I definitely have lucidity, but also I don't, like everybody else. What I know for a fact is that we do journey, and I'll use that word as the way I was taught in a very shamanic path, is we journey either to visit each other, we journey to different dimensional states to view, to gain knowledge and access points. Sometimes we'll even journey to a place like in the healing work that I do. You wind up journeying towards places to where you can hold frequency safe and you can hold Like, for instance, if something really dark and horrific is happening, I remember I've been pulled out of my body before to stand and bear witness to a ritualistic sacrifice. And I was not there because it was something that I was intended to enjoy, but because I was intended to anchor high light in an area where there was almost none. And again, I don't do anything. I can't change the fate of what's occurring other than my presence. And I felt three other energies. So there were four energies that were pulled into this moment that were not meant to be there, that were of the light. And what we were trying to do is create lattice points so that that energy could not capture the soul. And they weren't able to. So that's the other thing that dark energies think that they've always got in the bag is every sacrifice that they do. There are a bunch of light workers and a bunch of people who will come and basically bear witness to the crime, but also bear peace and build journeys for that soul that's suffering to get to freedom. Because again, the dark does not understand how light works and they don't have the ability to. So when we render ourselves as available to help each other, there's a lot that they can't do to stop us, which I think is really, really beautiful. Okay. Is consciousness something special that only humans or living things have, or could it be present everywhere? It's everywhere. The wind, anything that has the spiritual capability of saying I am, it's kind of the rule of Descartes, right? I think, therefore I am. So when a rock can come into the realization that it is stationary, that is there for a very long time, that its erosion patterns will take eons to understand, but that it still understands its stationary reality, that is now a consciousness, right? So stones, anything that is of a light sense. So there would be like a consciousness just for stone, but then there would be a consciousness for things that are experiencing the passage of time in the most grand way. Those items, those things, trees, I call them bearers or witnesses. Witnesses would be much more those that bear witness in time. That's really what I'd call those energies. Humanity has its own consciousness. Dogs have their own consciousnesses. Cats have their own it's all collective, right? So humans, we drop down into the ultimate individuation, which I think is sort of hard for people to understand. That's why we believe, oh, we're so separate. But like dogs, think about like a stray dog that has no tether to a human being. There's that sort of feral energy. They're reverting to group consciousness. They're reverting to basically what we call instinct, and its tether is basically an awareness of a dog, so the needs of a dog without any I am statements. As soon as you take a dog and bring it into your home or into close consciousness with higher beings, so for instance humanity, you would even see this around like dogs that wind up with wolf groupings, dogs that anything to where you start to get acknowledged and taken in. That is sort of one of the beautiful things about humans that we can do is we can add individuation into a non-individuated energy. So I always kind of joke with my cats and I always like hug them and like, I'm going to make you a human because by being near us, we declare them. You are so cute. You are my favorite. You are spicy. Whatever we're saying that they are, they're now allowed to drip down into more individuation from the group of dogs that would just be. So now this dog is able to say, I am Charlie. I am cute. My owner does love me, and suddenly the individuation consciousness comes through. And then I think that's sort of where we can really work forward with that question of what is consciousness. Okay, do you believe your sense of I or self is real, or is it more like a story your mind tells? Well, I would say it's a story your mind tells, right? Because your mind is what determines what you are, whatever you think that is. So I would probably, that's a kind of a trick question because your sense of I also is sort of stunted under the lack of remembering of who you are. And I think that's really important to know is that if you believe that you are just alone and you have no connection to others and you're kind of worthless, like zombie, I would make a point to say like, well, what story is your mind telling you? And be careful what that story is because that story is what renders your future. Can we ever truly understand what it feels like to be somebody else? I guess that would be like an empathy disorder, right? So we know people who, if you ever watch the Hannibal, the TV show, it is amazing. But that is a TV show that deals with basically like extreme empathy, and that's something that maybe you're referring to. But that is how I would answer that is yes, you can have the experience of somebody else depending on the barrier of empathy or not, but that's pretty much reserved for reincarnation, and it's always bound by these separations of forgetfulness. Okay, the topic is does time feel real to you or does it sometimes seem like an illusion? Well, that's a great question. If you go into the Gnostic reality, some people would argue, especially like shamanic as well. Some people believe that if you spend too much time in the past remembering, or you spend too much time in the future, you're actually aging yourself. I don't really know how I feel about that. Um, but I don't know what that is. Oops, I don't know how to turn that off. Oh well. Um, but how do I kick that? Oops. Whatever. Anyways, okay. Okay. La, da, da, da. So time is an illusion, but it's real for us. So anybody who tries to like act like that, I can't stand it when people say, "Well, time isn't real." Well, for the function of what we're doing here, it is. So we do have to acknowledge it and function with it. However, I also agree that time is not real. It is definitely, when you go into the higher dimensions, it's relevant, but that means nothing to us. We still have to pay our bills. Like I don't like when people try to like ascend out of the humanity of our experience because that's not real. You still have to pay bills. I have clients all the time and they're like, "Oh my God, I want to talk about my past life." And I'm like, why don't we talk about the fact that you're behind on everything? Or, all the things that we do as humanity that makes us struggle, like myself included, that never changes. So time is an illusion, but it's also an illusion that we work with. So we have to deal with it. Do you think that, if everything is constantly changing, what, if anything, stays the same about you over time? Nothing, theoretically. If you're doing it correctly, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, what we're actually trying to do is we're trying to capture all the experiences, the good and the bad. We're trying to become the villain. We're trying to become the hero. We have to have experiences of being the victim. We have to have experiences of being the aggressor. So all we're trying to do is completely paint in this mural with experience, with life experience. So that's why, and it's actually when you get into the older aspects of the soul, that you have a little bit more choice in what your experiences will be. And that's why it takes a little bit longer to plan them in the astral. So as you get older, your soul gets older and older, you do spend a lot more time in the astral when you're choosing and picking your experiences. And you do have to wait. There's kind of a time lock that happens when you're wanting really specific experiences. For instance, there's only going to be so many like apocalypses available to experience, which is one of the reasons why anytime there is a reset or an apocalypse, the old souls get the first line to get in because they're the ones clearing the most karma out of this experience. That's actually why right now our system is shut down to new souls because we're in the middle of a change that's going to basically go until I have a feeling we're going to open back up around 2040 is really when I think this reset is finalized, in any meaningful way, at least. That's my prediction. Um, do you think the future is already set, or is it truly open and being created right now? It's both. It's set in certain ways. We call those contracts, and then it's also being created and rendered as we work through it. That's a full stop. That's where I situate in that topic. Um, do you feel the universe has some kind of purpose, or is it more random and neutral? I would say uh, it is random and neutral at that first layer for us, I would say. But then the purpose is like on that third and fourth level of like the randomness stops. It is never really random in the grand scale, but our experience of it can be. So that's why that's a hard question. I'm sorry if what I just said makes no sense or doesn't feel like an answer, but okay. I hope this has helped, and I'm probably gonna hop off of here because I've got plenty of this that I needed. So thank you so much, y'all. Take care.